So you have kids with your narcissistic spouse or narcissistic ex, and you're in the process of parenting, co-parenting, parallel parenting, but how does that actually work? And what does it actually look like as far as your kids and how to be able to protect them from it? I want to be able to share a couple things today about ways to support your children when you're in that active engagement of co-parenting or parallel parenting. How can you actually work with that? If you guys don't know who I am, my name is Ben Taylor. I run Raw Motivations. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this platform, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, on these platforms to provide awareness about narcissism, healing, growth, and change to people out there. So we try to educate people on all different platforms about what narcissism is, help them find ways to heal, grow, and change, meet with people on a one-on-one basis to be able to help them and give them the tools to be able to rewire their mind and change their mindset, change the process that they're going through that's keeping them trapped in that trauma bond that has them detoxing and they don't know how to get away and has them building strong boundaries as they continue moving forward. And do that every single week through the free content, through live events on Wednesday nights with Mental Healness and myself. On Thursday nights, I'm live on most of the platforms answering questions, trying to help people understand. And on Monday nights, we're actually inside the Narc app exclusively to provide a secure place for people to ask questions, be able to interact a little bit more. And we also do monthly coaching inside the Narc app as well. So there's a whole bunch of different things we're trying to be able to do to put out there the information because a lot of people don't understand. And a lot of people don't have the tools necessary to be able to help. So today I mentioned I want to talk to you about narcissism and specifically parenting with a narcissist and how it breaks down of this aspect of ways to support your kids. So I'm going to be looking at the book today. It's actually called The Narcissist in Your Life by Julie Hall. It gives some really good tips and really good ideas. I want to be able to read some of those today and be able to talk to you about it. So what we're looking at is nine different things. Okay, 9 different ways to support your children when you're stuck in that relationship with a narcissistic spouse and you have to co-parent, parallel parent, all that kinds of things. Okay, so let's dive in real quick. Number 1, validate their feelings. A crucial thing to do for your kids is to validate their feelings. You may be tempted to try to shield yourself and or them by denying their confusion and pain, but denying a child's rightful feelings protects no one. It only fosters the abuse and trauma, and it will destroy a child's trust in you. So often I've seen people where they haven't validated the feelings and they haven't acknowledged what's actually going on, and as the child grows up, they start to even distrust the other parent because they're like, wait a second, like you told me this wasn't happening. Like you minimized like the pain that I was feeling. So first thing, validate their feelings. Number 2, give credit where credit is due. Invalidation also happens when we do not receive appropriate acknowledgement for our accomplishments. Narcissists resent credit credited to others and feel like they're entitled to credit even when it's not earned, often distorting the truth or blatantly lying to get it. Make sure to acknowledge your children's successes even and especially when the other parent does not. If that parent is combative, it may be safer to express the acknowledgement privately. You have to be careful about how that works out depending on the person that you're interacting with, the person that you're relating with. A lot of times you'll see this with, let's say, the son's at a baseball game and the dad's like, yeah, I taught him everything he knows. Or they're out with volleyball and the mom's like, yeah, like she got that from me. Like trying to take the child's accomplishments away and be able to put the attention back on themselves instead of appreciating, praising the person who's actually doing the work. So this one thing to be able to think through is making sure, number 2 there, give credit where credit is due. Be able to help out in that way. Number 3, help them resist blaming themselves. Now this is a tough one because some of this stuff on here, you can't really put it out there and you can't really help the kids with it unless you're working on it yourself. That's where it comes down to. We're not always focused on the narcissist and what they're doing, but we're also focused inwardly of how do we continue to grow and change ourselves. So number 3, help them resist blaming themselves. Narcissists compulsively blame others, including for their own bad behavior. If narcissists throw a temper tantrum, they will always say someone or something else drove them to it. Helping your children understand that their narcissistic parents' blame is unfounded and unfair is critical to their sense of an accurate reality. Seeing that they are not to blame will also relieve your kids of a heavy burden that should not be theirs to carry. Side note, that same burden that you might have is probably not yours to carry too. So make sure you're doing the work, because you have to be able to do the work to be able to help your kids in a narcissistic relationship. All right, number 4, tell the truth. See, the fact about truth is that you need to see and acknowledge it yourself before you can help your kids do the same. Sounds familiar. Telling the truth is a very tricky terrain in the narcissistic family, both dangerous and essential for those trying to cope with a narcissist's destructive influence. Children often perceive more than the adults realize, and chances are they have insight into the narcissistic parent already. Kids are usually your best guide to what and when they're ready to hear. Waiting until your child asks about something often is the right way to introduce information. How do you speak with your children will evolve naturally over time as they come to understand the family dynamics better. So really providing that safe place where the child can come and can ask questions, can be like, I don't understand this, like what is going on? And then you're able to say, hey, this is what's going on. There's often an idea of like age appropriateness, like waiting to see, when they start to realize, but also like holding back on certain things, like maybe not saying the word narcissist until they're, in their teens or earlier, like to be able to say like, hey, like this is just the actions, this is the behavior that's going on. Number 5, don't demonize your narcissistic spouse. Be careful not to demonize your spouse, even if he or she acts like a demon, as this can lead to confusion and ambivalence in your kids, especially when young. Will in most cases love and seek approval from their other parent no matter how badly she or he behaves. You have to let them come to some of these conclusions on their own, but if you start to like pre-give them ideas, a lot of times that'll confuse. That'll confuse them wanting to get that attention naturally from a parent. But maybe that parent is toxic. So, number 6, avoid tough love. With exceptions, so-called tough love is not an effective parenting style, especially with children in a narcissistic home. When a narcissistic parent, they have endured the harshest of circumstances, an atmosphere of constant judgment and negative negation of self. Sorry, can't read. Okay, so the tough love they're already going to experience from the narcissistic perspective. So if they're getting that from both parents, oftentimes it can be a place where it sets them even worse into whatever they're dealing with, whether that's the blame, whether that's the trauma, whether that's the guilt. So just be really careful about that. Okay, number 7, help them develop resilience. The best thing you can do for them is to model and nurture resilience. Sound familiar? It's like a theme going on here, okay? But you can do this by providing this, okay? Unconditional love, of which their other parent is incapable. Acceptance, respect, and support for their individuality. An empathetic response to others. Encouragement of hard work and accomplishments without false praise. Appropriate limits and flexibility and reinforcement of confidence in and respect for their own feelings and instincts. Helping them cultivate all that and understand who they are, developing their self-worth, developing their self-esteem is crucial for them to be able to stand the test of time when they're interacting and having to deal with a narcissistic parent. Have you noticed like a theme through all of these? Like so far out of the 7 out of 9, like the theme with this is you can only help your kids as much as you're helping yourself. It's like they have in the airlines, like as they're going through like the pre-flight stuff, they're like, hey, make sure you put your mask on if we lose air pressure before you put on the air mask of someone else. That's really what you're doing in a co-parenting type situation, is you're helping yourself understand and get solid, and then you're working with your kids to help them understand and help them get solid. But you can't have them breathing fresh air and understanding what's going on if you don't already have that. That's how it has to work in the narcissistic co-parenting relationship. You have to be solid so you can help them be solid. All right, I digress. Number 8, don't take their anger personally. It's not fair, but your kids may at times vent their worst frustrations at you. This is because they cannot be honest with their narcissistic parent, and they trust you enough to act out and show their real feelings. Now, this can be really hard, and it's not giving just a carte blanche for them to be able to come in and just be able to abuse you and yell at you. Like, it's not saying that. But it is saying, like, there's going to be opportunity for them to be able to express more emotion, more feeling, more thoughts to you than what they would to the narcissistic parent, because those feelings are going to, again, be invalidated and not accepted. Okay? It says your steady devotion and non-defensiveness is a lifeline for your children, but you also need to model self-respect, strength, and proper boundaries. Okay? All right, last but not least, we got number 9. Talk about their rights. Even if your kids ostensibly know what fairness and human rights should be, they will carry confusion and doubt from having had their own basic rights undermined by their narcissistic parent in a direct and indirect way. And so you have to focus on acknowledging, hey, these are your rights as a human being. Like they shouldn't be talking to you this way. Like they shouldn't be interacting with you this way. Like they shouldn't be taking away food because you did not do this for them. Like you shouldn't be taking blame for something that they did. And so when you're thinking about the entire relationship of you, the narcissistic spouse, ex, or whatever, and the co-parenting, parallel parenting, the stuff that's going on there, how are you at matching up on helping your kids? Okay, real quick. Validate their feelings, give credit where credit is due, help them resist blaming others, tell the truth, don't demonize your narcissistic spouse, avoid tough love, help develop resilience, don't take their anger personally, and talk about their rights.